Thank you. All right, all right, all right. We are here in the studio. Why can't I hear myself? Testing, testing. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Let's make sure we can hear me.
All positive problems.
Okay.
All positive problems.
All positive problems. Let's go back over here in settings. I'm not quite sure why I can't hear myself.
Good. Mic check. 1, 2.
Oh yeah, you know what?
VH in
Can you click that button down there? That's what when I moved that it didn't click. It's a
This one here?
no over there on your left side. Is there anything down there? Flip that back up. No, the other one.
Y'all.
Right
We're
there.
about to do a live radio interview for Sign My Name.
All right, now we
y'all here.
now we got some
Stay
volume. I'm
tuned
like,
in.
no, wait a minute. I know I'm supposed to be
Say
here
hi to
something
people,
around
brothers,
here.
and those.
What's going
All
on,
right,
everybody?
all right, all
About to go
right.
live to the radio show.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur with big events we have coming up
Hey.
tomorrow and on Sunday here in Oakland.
I love it, love it. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all, community. Thank you, family. We are so grateful and thankful for you tapping into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour gospel and music station, amongst others. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul with Sistah Mellow brings to you every first Saturday of the month the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called The Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own, so we always ask you to vibe out to fireside chats and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. One part of the corner could be the artist talk. We showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They share their creative process and their lived experience. The other part of the corner could be the other part of the corner could be Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of today's brilliant mind, along with the geniuses from our past. We are preserving. Boy, what's going on today? That's okay. Tongue twisters and you know what it's all. You said a good problem, good problem. Okay, yes, we are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. The other part of the corner could be She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where you will hear from individuals sharing their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done and is doing in their lives, which are inspirational messages. Also, we are highlighting golden light affirmations to impart healing medicine into the soul of the brilliant minds on today. The second Saturday of the month is called the Medicine Hour. This is with Mr. George Pearson, who is the founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine. This is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness, healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month is called Education is the Best Medicine, hosted by the founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, which is a community-based health education, advocacy-based, and a resource-based organization that uses public media, resources, radio, newspapers, and church-based community health fairs to provide health information and education. We believe the vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and bringing light to a very dark world. Every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show. My co-host, the Doc, the Voice, and the Prince of Hearts. This is where we showcase and highlight individuals, and we have real talk conversations with organizers, community leaders, business owners from around the Bay Area to across the globe. Every fifth Saturday of the month is called The Voices That Care. This is where we highlight reentry and mental wellness. However, today you have tapped into the eyes of the conscious soul with your host, Sister Mellow, another co-host, my nephew, Brandon Rose. He's not here on today, but we have another co-host in the building. Her name is Stephisha. Say your name.
Stephisha, Ycoy-Walton.
Hey, hey, up in the house. However, on today we are highlighting a pioneer, a legacy, the legacy of the legacy walk of a pioneer, Miss Betty Reed
Saskia. Let's
Saskia.
go.
Okay, and then we have in the studio with us today Mr. Bryan. What's your last
Hello,
name?
everybody. Bryan Gibel.
Mr. Bryan Gibel, and he's going to share his motivation to creating the film that he put together. But most importantly, we are here also to highlight the us showcasing Miss Betty Reed. We are in the studio at the gallery at Miss Joyce Gordon Gallery downtown Oakland. We are preparing to do a showing of her of the legacy walk, and we're grateful and thankful. We were in there just a little while ago. We come running over here to the radio to we are doing the installation, and then the showing will start tomorrow.
Yes, the showing is
so we're
tomorrow.
grateful and thankful to that. But we are going to move through asking my co-host to again introduce herself, the name of her business, and then we're going to go over to Mr. Bryan, and we're going to work it out from there.
Absolutely. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Happy Saturday. This is Stephisha, Ycoy-Walton. Happy to be here on Believe Radio. The point of today is really to introduce you all to an amazing creator. I'm sure you probably know him, but if you don't, today will be the day you are introduced. His name is Bryan Gibel. He is the director and producer of Sign My Name to Freedom, and he's done a spectacular job just in working on this film for many, many, many years, 8-9 years already. And so, this is something that we're proud to highlight. And so I really want to hand it over to him just to talk a little bit about who he is, and really just what inspired you as a kid. We're going to get into the film, but what inspired you as a kid? Who are you? Tell the people who you are, B.
Peace, everybody. Great to be here. Thank you, Stephisha, and thank you, Sister BH, for having me and for the lovely intros and for all of the energy and the work that you're doing 24 hours here at the station. That's a blessing and a gift for the community to have it nonstop.
Yes.
So I'm feeling really inspired just to be here in this place. It's an honor.
And I'm grateful that you said that because the ancestors is among them.
Yes,
We're in alignment to the work that we've been called to do.
And that's what we're here actually to speak about. We're here to speak about an ancestor who's still with us alive on this planet, Miss Betty Reed Saskia. On September 22nd, she'll turn 103 years young. 103. She was born in 1921 in St. James Parish, Louisiana, and moved to Oakland when she was 6 years old in 1927. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. You asked me to start out telling you a little bit about myself. I grew up in New Mexico, in the desert, actually.
Oh, wow.
Born in Albuquerque, grew up there. My parents had just moved out from New York. My dad was born in Brooklyn. My mom was born in St. Louis, and they moved to Albuquerque 2 weeks before I was born. So I was born in New Mexico and grew up not really knowing my grandparents, not really knowing my extended family. And I would say as a kid, I had a hunger for that type of connection. I wanted to know more about my own roots. And because that information wasn't really available based on the immigration history of my ancestors, I started connecting with and trying to learn more about chosen family that had really influenced me and helped to start give me meaning and giving shape to my life. So I would say over time, I started traveling. I had the privilege of being able to travel outside the country. Some I lived overseas, and I met people that had grown up in completely different environments for me, right? The first place I moved to was Havana, Cuba. I spent some time in Brazil. I spent some time in Spain and met people that felt like family to me.
Come on. I'm so grateful that you just said that because family is the key.
Yes.
We're thinking that it's just our extended. No, it's the extended family. It's people that's not even that was born or birthed into your actual family, but community. I love that you said that earlier. Community is the key, and being able to find family amongst community.
Absolutely,
because everybody is not
that's
family, right? That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we in the professional world. It's
Right.
like, you know, we're not family, we're colleagues, and we're different things like. But actually, I love the way I get this from my parents in San Francisco, Wendy's Cheesecake Bakery. My parents, my father made sure that everybody in the community was that we knew that was our family.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So before we even go there, I need for you, we would be remiss if we don't give shout outs first to the families that and the folks that you standing on the shoulders of. We gotta give out, I don't care who shaped you, you know, community, whoever you want to give kudos out to, because before we start the shows, I always like for our
Ancestors to be
and
brought
yes,
into
the
space.
ancestors to be brought into the space, because without them, it ain't for me
Right.
and for us.
Right.
It won't go the way we accordingly for, because we're working with them.
Yeah.
So we definitely want you to bring,
So
and
who
you bring
shaped
too.
you?
You
Yeah.
bring too. We
Yeah.
bring
Yeah.
them in the midst.
I mean, first and foremost, my parents. Of
Yes.
course.
That's
Say
right.
their name, child. You open the radio.
Yeah.
Rosalind and Lawrence Gibel.
That's right.
Thank you, mom and dad,
Yeah.
for making me who I am.
That's
Give me the
what I'm talking about.
foundation,
That's
build
right.
it, grow,
That's
and
right.
and connect with other people and find my family. What I was saying
Come on.
before is I feel like I meet people in my life that I feel like we're spirit family.
No, this is what it's about. This is what see,
No.
turn us up.
And that can be deeper than blood sometimes.
This is what it's about.
And so
That's
for
right.
me, getting to meet people like that, connect with people as I started to travel, and now in my life, I seek that out, and I could find it, and it has inspired and shaped me to
Yes.
meet people that we might come from different backgrounds, and yet we have that same spirit, and we're family. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew that there were people that influenced me, and eventually I started to discover that I think my calling was to start telling people stories that had shaped me.
Yep.
Right? I would meet people that
Yep.
had lived the most different experiences than me, and yet we were like brothers and sisters. And the stories and experiences that they communicated to me helped to shape me so much that I started to find my calling to then start telling other people's stories.
Come on, come on.
And trying to do it in a voice that is so authentic to them.
Come on.
And so that's what
Wait,
I
wait,
started
wait.
to
Before
dedicate my
before
life
you
to.
even go any further,
Yes, ma'am.
before you go any further,
Man.
I'm so grateful and thankful that you just said the magic words for me. The come on now.
Authenticity.
Come on, when we tell the
Yes,
story, we
man.
want to, that's why I tell people, good, bad, ugly, challenging, your story counts.
Yep.
It built you and shaped you
Yes, ma'am.
into who you are today. So don't get rid of that part,
No.
because it's a journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything is
Our journey, our
man.
walk. And what we're going to show tomorrow is the
Mhm.
journey. We don't want to know just how you go through.
Right.
Right.
No, we want to know the struggles. We want
Right.
to know the
Yeah.
pain. We want to know that's me.
Right.
When we doing the eyes of the conscience soul,
Yes, ma'am.
it's about the soul.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? We want the authentic you to
Absolutely.
be in the space and our people. Go ahead.
Nah.
Y'all know how we're gonna do. They
Nah,
doing this thing.
I love it. I love it. When I first met Bryan, he was all authentic. Like,
See?
I loved it, man. Like, you were just one of the most authentic people I had
See?
ever met. And the crazy thing is, I didn't even get a chance to talk to you before I saw the film first. You see what I'm saying? Like, we said hello and I was introduced, but I didn't even have a real conversation with you. It was after I saw the film, I saw like just the pre-screening of it, and we were in Richmond at the museum, and I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, like, who's this guy? Like, how does he tell a story like this? And then you see it on film, and as you've been seeing it be developed and edited, you get this level of excitement about you because you genuinely feel like you're in that time period.
Yeah.
Like, you really feel
That's
like you
your
got a
purpose.
piece of
My
history.
purpose.
See, you are in your purpose.
Yeah.
So when in the work that you do, when you
Yeah.
both do,
Yeah.
when you up there talking to the youth and giving the information not only to the youth but to the community,
Yeah.
it's embedded in your spirit.
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
it comes
Yes.
through, it oozes
Yeah.
through, because that's your alignment, that's
Yep.
your story, that's your purpose, and that's what we're asking everybody that's listening and that's tuning in. We want you to tap into your purpose.
Walk
Because
your purpose,
if you
your
don't,
purpose.
the world is missing that.
Yes.
And
Tell
I'm
them.
not gonna be in your lane. If
Ooh.
that's your lane over there, that's
You
what
got
do.
it.
I'm not talking about you.
Right.
I'm letting you do you.
Huh.
And please do the same for me. You know, because I believe in collaboration, not competition.
Ooh,
Yes.
community
And
And I get
collaboration.
what y'all talking about
Foundation and
competition,
And we gonna keep saying it. We need what? Shepherds, not
Yes.
gatekeepers. Come on, last time.
Go.
Y'all gonna hear it till I'm gonna beat a dead horse with it, man. You have been my shepherd.
See, and
You
vice
have
versa.
been my
You have been
shepherd.
my
And you have
shepherd.
been my shepherd. And you have been my shepherd. This is
Come
what I'm
on.
talking about.
Yes.
Come on now.
This community.
Yes.
So you in this space and you finally figured, okay, well, I want to tell other people's stories because that's my purpose.
Yeah.
So how did you fall into the space of telling this story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why she my co-host. See, we bounce off each other. We work together.
Mhm.
You know, that's what everybody that I bring into the studio
Yeah.
and with the eyes of the conscious soul,
Yeah.
it's always the bounce and the balance and the ancestors. That's why I said, oh, hold it. Let's bring them in
Yeah.
because they're going to run it how they want it to be run.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be authentic.
Absolutely.
And the spirit, as you were talking about, most importantly, seeing that spirit of that inside of that show and you're in the journey. When you take people on that, you in. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in a flow state,
Oh,
man.
Lord.
It's something that's deeper even than thought because you feel it in your heart.
Yeah.
And that's actually what guides me when I'm making films and when I'm telling stories now.
Mm.
Certain stories or certain people I meet, it just gives me a feeling
Yeah.
that I can't even necessarily put words on, but I feel it in my heart and in my spirit, the power or the connection or the inspiration that I get from somebody.
Mm.
And it's like, it's not even a thought process. I just know it.
Hmm.
Right. And so I was driving one day, I was driving and I heard a radio piece with Betty, because Betty, at this point, Betty Reed Soskin, born in 1921, moved to Oakland in 1927 as a 6-year-old, about to turn 103 on September 22nd, right? She became famous in her 90s. She became a park ranger at 85 years old, when most people are either gone or been retired for decades. She started a new job. And in her 90s, she became a celebrity because she has this way of telling her own story with more authenticity than I think anybody I've ever met in my life. She just speaks from the heart and from her own personal
That's the griot and griot. We have griots and griots in our lineage.
Come
So
on.
with the griots and the griots, and that's the part when you're able to do that storytelling, that's who you are.
And she comes from a lineage of storytelling.
Oh my
and
see,
griot.
I didn't even know.
It's right on time.
Right? And she's still that living legacy. And she started to get covered because of the way that she could speak on her own experiences. She became famous telling her story, working in World War II during the home front. Richmond, the whole city of Richmond basically sprang from a town of 30,000 people to a city of over 100,000 people in like the 4 years of the beginning of the 1940s during World War II. The population expanded dramatically. And there were people that were coming from the southern states primarily, that Henry Kaiser, who was running the shipyards to build warships to defeat the Nazis and the fascists in Europe at the time, he needed a labor force to build those ships. So they started bringing people in from mostly the southern states, black and white workers. They brought them in. And with the Park Service, the National Park Service, when Betty was in her 80s, they were setting up, they wanted to set up a national park to tell that story. Right. But what they were doing, it was all white folks that were in the room to make those plans about how to tell the story. And they were talking about how everybody with this time of everybody come together and all this unity.
So what you're saying is it wasn't authentic.
It wasn't authentic.
Oh, okay.
Betty was she was in that room with those planning meetings, and she raised her hand and said, I've worked here in the shipyards at that time, and let me tell you that I wanted to be a Rosie the Riveter. I wanted to weld those ships, but I couldn't because the labor unions were all segregated, racially segregated.
Wow.
And then people said, what? They didn't know because that history had been left out. But Betty lived.
We just talked about that earlier.
Don't leave our history out.
She has this saying that has really inspired me and inspired many people, where she says, history is determined by who's in the room doing the remembering.
And who writes it. Yes.
Okay.
Right? And there was nobody in the room.
Say that again. No.
History is determined by who's in the room doing the remembering. That's Betty Reed Soskin. And at the time that this national park site was getting set up, there was no black people in the room except for Betty. And certainly nobody
so how can you tell my story?
You can't tell the story.
You don't know. She lived it. She was a young woman. So in the 1940s, if she was born in 1921, she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
And she signed up to help, the United States fight against the Germans and the Japanese, and the labor unions were segregated, so she couldn't do the work that she wanted to do. Instead, she had to punch time cards for other workers.
Wow.
Because yeah, and
punch.
another thing is that the Park Service was going to set up all of these different locations around Richmond to honor where people stayed, where the housing that was set up for people that were brought in from the southern states for the workforce. And Betty said, I don't know if you know this, but these are all sites of segregation. So that there were different housing complexes that were built for Black workers versus white workers. And Betty was able to discover, looking back maybe 50 years down the line, that some of the Black housing, as you might expect, was not nearly as nice as the white housing. There were fires that killed workers, and all this had been left out of history.
Same thing is going on now.
It was going to be left out of the National Park Service's history. Except Betty was there.
Wait a minute.
Because history is determined by who's in the room doing the room.
There we go.
There was nobody there that had lived that history.
My God.
So even if they meant well, they didn't have the knowledge to be able to tell the real stories. And when Betty stood up and started telling them her story, they recognized that and they asked her to become a park.
They're like, tell us more.
They're like, we want this history to be represented authentically.
That's right.
They just didn't have the knowledge or hadn't sought out the knowledge to tell those stories.
You said the key right there.
Yeah.
Because that knowledge is available.
It's available.
It
Thank you. And that's
You
the
just gotta
key.
ask
Go
the right
to
people.
the people or go to their families. They can tell you, not you assuming about how my family lived and what we did. You might have read about it, but when I'm talking to you and I'm sharing the information, it's on a whole nother level. And that's why this is called the eyes of the conscience soul.
That's right.
It's the soul that's telling the story.
And that's why for me, I found my calling is to work and connect with people, to have them tell their own first person stories, right? It's not about me. It's not about me interpreting their history and finding some expert to tell me about it.
Bryan,
I want
come
people
on.
to just talk about what they lived through.
Come on.
Betty, she can articulate her experiences like nobody I've ever met. She's a poet. Every single word that she comes up with is literally poetry. And so I was driving in my car and I heard her come on NPR. She was giving an interview about her work for the Park Service, and it was like, I had to stop. It was crazy. It was so powerful. And
so wait a minute. So how the people, the information that you're hearing, I know you are sitting up on the edge of your seat.
Got to be.
So looking to come to our exhibit, and it starts
Ooh,
tomorrow at the
yes.
Joyful Gallery.
Yes.
The history will be about what the walk is going to be about, and then what we're having on the 15th.
Well, I'll tell them about the legacy
Yeah.
ball, but I'm gonna first tell them that BH came up with the theme of legacy ball. So let's just go ahead and put that out there. Super excited. Sitting around in community, planning, really talking about what it was gonna be like, and just sitting around talking to Bryan, and absolutely. And we sit and we talk about, okay, how do we curate greatness? How do we really tell somebody's story? And we start talking about all the experiences from the beginning, and we're like, well, shoot, we could really go back through history. So what blew me though was when I said, okay, Bryan, I'm gonna help you wire these frames. He said, guess what I got? Oh my gosh, guess what I got? He was like, I got pictures that are like 100 years old, 150 years old, like for her ancestors back in the 1800s. He showed us a picture of one of the ancestors, and y'all gotta come see it. He showed us the ancestors that's literally from the 1850s, but was never a slave. I'm like, how does that work? He was a sugar man. Like, how does that work? And so tomorrow at the Legacy Walk at the gallery, you gonna walk in. You gonna see two beautiful photos of great-great-grandparents, and then you gonna walk back and you gonna see Betty in her 20s or 30s as a musician. You gonna see her family. You gonna see all of this amazing art that just tells the story of who she is, where she comes from, and not just the story of her as a ranger.
Come on.
Not just that part of the story.
That's the end of her life. That
Come on,
she became
Bryan.
a ranger at 85.
Right.
Wow.
And those
So
yeah.
we can't say we got it. So her being in her purpose, it takes us beyond our 85s.
Yes.
And she's up until 103. We ain't got no excuses.
It's all stuff that happened before, no?
It's all the stuff
We don't
that
have no
to her
excuses.
becoming a ranger that's the most interesting. And in that radio interview that I heard from her, she was talking as a park ranger about her experiences during World War II, her experiences at the national park site. But Betty told me when I got to know her that there was all of this history hidden underneath the uniform that didn't get told.
Mm.
Being a poet, she talked about the artist that was hidden behind her eyes.
Come on.
And I'm like, oh my God, Betty, she's so brilliant. And so none of that. Basically, what happened is she told such a beautiful story. She's so articulate that in her work as a ranger, and what she talked about was so important and relevant. What we were talking about earlier, the history, the hidden history of the Black experience during World War II here in Richmond and in Oakland and all across the country. It was so powerful that media started covering her and reporting on her, but they were basically telling the same story because they had fallen in love with this. She could package the story and everything in such beautiful poetry that it was like they were writing the same story. And I heard that her tell that. It was inspiring, and I went home and looked her up and did some research, and I found that she has been a pioneer at almost every stage of her life.
Come on now.
So she was a pioneering blogger.
I see I'm a pioneer. Come on,
in the early mid-90s, Betty in her 70s was like one of the early bloggers to start like blogging, right? And she had a blog that she had to get put together.
Wait. Community, we need you to bring your children, your whole family down and do this walk.
You got 1 week to do the legacy walk, y'all. But really, look, come on, Joyce, we need to. Come on, y'all. Look, you gotta come do this legacy walk, man.
To do the legacy walk, community, please bring your families down.
Yes.
And
it starts tomorrow.
Yes.
At Joyce Gordon Gallery. We have the gallery opening with a photo exhibit of almost 50 photos documenting Betty's ancestors going back to the 1830s.
Yep.
All the way through to a signed photograph that I found buried underneath Betty's desk yesterday by our next president, Kamala Harris. Thank you, Betty, for your service. We owe and admire so much to you for everything that you've done helping us connect with our history.
Now,
so it goes from the 1830s to our future president, the first Black woman president of the United States, Kamala Harris, and all of that is on the walls at the Joyce Gordon Gallery. And all of the pieces that connect that point. Oscar Bro, who Stephisha just mentioned, that was born in 1834 as a free Black man in Louisiana, connecting that all the way through to Kamala and what's going to happen in November. And all the pieces.
Look, I can't even sit down around here. This
Kamala.
So 2024. The gallery opening, it starts tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Joyce Gordon Gallery, and it'll be running for the
downtown
week.
Oakland, California.
Downtown Oakland, 14th at Franklin.
Yes.
And then next Sunday on the 15th, we're going to have a big event at Jeffrey's Inner Circle, which is a historic jazz club located right next to Joyce Gordon Gallery, literally next door. And we're going to be showing exclusive clips never before seen of the documentary that myself and Stephisha and a team of another group of probably 7 or 8 of us now are making about Betty and her story. We're going to be showing that at Jeffrey's. There's going to be music by Betty's son, who's a singer-songwriter. There's going to be an auction, including items like a signed jersey by Mr. Stephen Curry.
Certificate, y'all.
Certificate of authenticity donated by the Warriors. Shout out to David Kelly and the Warriors
organization. We appreciate you, Mr. Kelly.
Appreciate you, Mr. Kelly.
Hey,
it's going to be an amazing event. And one other thing that we would love for people to know is that at 103, Betty's not really making public appearances anymore. However, she's given so much to us. We're asking people to come out on the 15th at Jeffrey's Inner Circle from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we're gonna have a recording studio session set up where people can express to Betty their gratitude and tell her how much they love her and how much of an impact she's had, so we can give back to her.
Yes,
because she's given so much to us, and now at 103. I think every bit of inspiration and love that we can possibly get to her is really needed.
Yes, because her life was not in vain.
No, absolutely not.
By giving the story and giving that back to her.
Yes.
Her life was not in vain, and she's gonna feed off of that.
Yes,
she's gonna feed off of that.
Now that she can't make it out into public the same way that she used to, as she's 103, so she's more frail than she used to be. I feel we owe her the debt of telling her how much we love her, sending her love, sending her appreciation, because she's done so much for us.
Absolutely.
So we're asking folks to come out on the 15th, Sunday the 15th, Jeffrey's Inner Circle from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. There'll be soul food dinner if you want it.
I was just about to say.
Put by the Jeffrey's chef. It's going to be delicious, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And one other thing that you can experience there is Betty during this, we'll talk about later in the show, but during the 1960s, Betty was this incredible singer-songwriter
Yeah.
that was being groomed to become a big national phenomenon. And she ended up running away and leaving that behind because she had to be able to take care of her family.
Wow.
And we'll talk more about that now.
Yeah.
So she buried her music away for 50 years, but it's beautiful.
Mhm.
It is so beautiful. She's one of the, for me, she's one of the great singer-songwriters of that time, but she was never discovered. Her music was never released commercially, but if you come to the Joyce Gordon Gallery tomorrow, or to Jeffrey's Inner Circle on Sunday the 15th, we'll be playing her songs that have never been released before, and you can hear some of the music that she created, that she wrote, and all of her songs are autobiographical.
Wow.
She was writing about her own experiences, and just like she's a storyteller and become famous as a storyteller as a park ranger, in the 1960s, she was a storyteller, but she was playing guitar and singing about her life, and it's spectacular.
So, and then what's the other beautiful thing is that the pictures are going to be sold.
Yes.
Purchase a picture,
Please
a
do.
pictures.
Yes.
You know, where this is a part of a fundraiser.
It is.
So it's being able to purchase the pictures and the
artwork, auction. So the great thing about this, you guys, is that when you put on an event in the community, it's for everybody to come out, have a good time, fellowship, be there. But we do it for a reason, so that we can continue to preserve history.
Yeah.
And the way that we're preserving this particular lineage of history is through documentary footage.
Yes.
And the only way a documentary gets cut is if it gets produced and edited properly.
Right.
So we are in the editing phase right now, and we have an Emmy Award-winning editor, and that is something that is, you can't go without. Like, you need it to produce a great film. So right now we have a $103,000 push in honor of Betty's 103rd birthday, but that is not the complete budget, y'all. It's not, okay? So we just need y'all to understand that every single dollar from the live auction, every single dollar from dinner, everything, it goes back to the film, but it's so that Betty can have the opportunity to see it, enjoy it while she's still here. She's gonna be with us for a minute, but
that's right.
we want her to enjoy it, and for her family to be able to see themselves and all the distance that they've come. So I think it's gonna be amazing.
All deductions to the project are tax deductible. We have a fiscal sponsor, the International Documentary Association, and folks can make a tax deductible donation online at any point by going to the website for the film, which is signmynametofreedom.com. And if you go to signmynametofreedom.com, you'll see links and plugs all over there for how you can make a tax deductible donation to help support this film, because we really, my goal, my mission right now is to complete this film while Betty can still be here to see.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much time we have left. I'm not making any assumptions. I hope we have her for years.
Right.
Her family lives a really long time, but she's 103.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have urgency. And that's why we're pushing to raise this money so we can get. That's what I feel is a real important calling for me right now. Betty has given so much to us and to me personally, allowing me to tell her story. That I want to be able to give to her the ability to see this film, and it means more than anything to her right now. I can safely say we've had many talks about, just like we were speaking on before, how much of her life was captured through this lens that's fragmented, where people just latch on to her as a ranger. She wants to see the wholeness of herself told, and this film will do that in a way that's never been done before.
That is so beautiful. I want to ask you something, Bryan. How does Betty and her family's history, like, how does that align with like racial segregation, redlining, LGBTQ tensions? Like, how do we show that in the film? Like, how does that come through in her life?
So it's really fascinating. And after World War II, Betty and her husband Mel Reed, who is from an illustrious, long-standing family of African-American folks here in California. His grandfather served in the militia to keep California from falling to the Confederacy, and moved out here in the 1840s. And they have had such a huge impact in the East Bay and the development of the East Bay, the Reed family.
Wow.
Really, really beautiful. Betty and Mel married. Mel wanted to serve as a sailor during World War II, and when he went to enlist, he got booted out of the Navy because they said, as a black man, this man is a natural leader, and he's a risk to us. he's a risk to us because
Now,
the
that's
army was
what's going on
segregated at that
today.
time, and so they
That's what's happening
told him
today.
he could only
Can you
cook.
say that
He
again?
could only cook
BH like
for
that.
sailors on the
Bold
ships.
that.
They wouldn't let him fight, and he was a superstar quarterback and baseball player, an incredible athlete.
Wow.
He still to this day holds records in football and baseball at Berkeley High.
Say
He said
that.
in the 1930s, and people still have not broken those records.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
amazing. Mel was
Natural
absolutely
beast.
amazing, a natural leader, and they said we can't have this, so they discharged him.
You
Now, can
gotta
you say
be
that
kidding
again? The
me.
risk you just
Oh.
They said as a black man who's a natural leader of men, this is a risk to us as the Navy to have him in the service. And all he wanted to do was fight for his country. He
Wow.
wanted to offer the ultimate sacrifice, and they said, nah, thank you, but no.
And see, that's the same thing that's happening in our communities today.
Today,
With the black men.
still.
You know, to fight for our community, they are at risk, and they don't want them to fight for our community.
A lot of these
Wow.
histories that what happened
Come
to
on.
Mel that we just spoke on, that's not widely known. And so until we know and recognize the authentic history
Come on.
of our communities, then we can't change
Right.
the current situation, because if we don't know where we came from, then we don't know where we should be going.
Come on
That is
now.
why you are a producer.
Exactly. He
That
paints
is-
vision.
Come on. That is why God allowed you to walk in your purpose, because he knew on your assignment,
Yep.
you were going to do exactly what he wanted you to do,
Mm-hmm.
not what somebody else say or think or feel. And that's the part of us walking in our purpose
Yes.
to our youth, to our
Yes.
young folks.
Yeah.
Find your lane,
Mm.
walk in your purpose. That's why it is important for me to make sure that I have the youth in here with me,
Yep.
being able to give them a platform to tell their stories,
Yep.
and being able to allow them to be themselves. That's my responsibility. That's my duty.
Right.
That I don't have a choice. And this is why this is my responsibility. I always tell everybody, my platform is your platform.
I love it.
Because without my platform, who am I?
Who are we?
Ubuntu.
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 Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I am because of you are, you are because I am,
Yes.
and I see the king and queen in you,
Yes.
and vice versa.
Yes.
So it is important for us. This is what we're trying to do for our next generation, is to get them back on track,
Yes, man.
because we are so far away
Mm.
from where we're supposed to be because of all of this nonsense. However, giving stories, sharing this information,
Mm.
allowing them to be in the midst. That's
Yes.
what the Freedom School is about.
Come on. Okay, so look.
Dr. Cesar Cruz
Yes.
and Dr.
Take us
Jazzy
into
Cruz.
it. Yes.
That's what the Homies Empowerment Freedom School is about, and that's
Yes.
what we're doing on that block over there.
Yes.
Is
All
we
up,
have
MacArthur.
the
Let's
care
go.
center, we have the healing center, we have the food,
Yep.
we have the store.
Yep.
So being able to give our kids what, not, I'm 60, so that's why I'm saying kids, but the youth that know me, like, they don't decide what I'm like, they aunties and all that kind of stuff. I call them nephew, but it's out of respect
Right.
as another human being,
Right.
and that's just my role. This is where I am. This is what I do.
That's your purpose.
So that's my purpose.
Yes.
And so I'm going, and then I tell them all the time, they're like, Miss B, we ain't worried about when you call us sweetheart, kitty, all that. But again, they know I love them.
Right.
Yes.
That's why they're authentic.
Right.
Yeah, they
That's
can
why-
see that your love is authentic.
Come on,
Exactly.
say that.
And they can feel it.
And they
Yeah.
can feel it.
Feel
And
it.
that's what
You don't
you
have to question it. You just feel
Not
it.
even.
It's just true.
And
Right.
that's what it is through the film, what you're
Yes.
feeling, that when they see the film and the people that's surrounded
Yep.
with the film,
Yep.
the one that's doing the like you said, don't be the what did you say?
Don't be the gatekeeper.
Don't be the gatekeeper.
Be the
We
shepherd.
are, if you all would, this is the beauty of community. Coming together, having a conversation,
Basic
a
conversation.
basic conversation, and we came up with something so.
But it was an intergenerational
Ooh.
conversation.
Yes.
It was intergenerational,
That's it.
right? So we
Come on,
talk
let's go.
about
Let's
this film. We talk about preserving
Let's go.
legacy, like this is history, right?
Yes.
So we talk about racial tensions. We talk about redlining. We talk about LGBTQ rights. Everything democracy, right?
Yes.
How do we create a model out of this movie to
Mhm,
allow it
mhm,
to be used in schools as part of curriculum? Because if you think about it, it tells the history of Walnut Creek.
Yes.
It tells the history of color lines, like
tells the history of Oakland and Berkeley. So
You got the town of town.
You- Come on now.
So in 1945, when World War II ended, Betty and Mel had both had horrible experiences with segregation during the home front and the war effort. And they both decided they were never going to work for white people again. They said, we're done. We're not doing it again. And so they decided to start a record store. In 1945, they started the
Business owners.
Yes, sir.
No, hold it.
They started the first black-owned record store west of the Mississippi in 1945.
Wait, you're not talking about the Reed's records?
Betty Reed Soskin, she started that record, so they cut a hole in the garage door where they lived, and they started selling records out of a hole they cut in their garage door. And Betty and Mel were Reed's records. That's what started with the two of them. Yes.
Crazy.
Now,
and this had not been included in the media coverage that I was hearing about this park ranger. So I read about this on her blog, and I was like, and it was South Berkeley. Yep. How Sacramento and Prince Street. Sacramento and Prince Street. Yeah.
Woo!
So I learned about this by doing some research on Betty, and I drove down to the record store because it was still open.
Yeah.
And Betty's daughter Diara was running the record store.
Thank you, Diara.
I walked in. Thank you, Diara. Shout out to Diara.
Yes, and family.
All of Betty's children.
Tell them all.
Yes. Reed, Diara Reed,
yes.
Dory Reed. Those are Betty's 3 children that are still living. Her 4th child, Rick Reed, passed in 1995. Rest in peace. And also Betty's grandchildren are amazing too. So
shout out to Aliana.
Amaya Reed, Koki Reed. So I went down to the record store. I met Diara at that time. So it was.
Wait, before you go there, I gotta pay the bills.
Yes.
Thank you, community, for tapping in and being on Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour gospel music station, amongst other things. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every first Saturday of the month. We have the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, where we have the artist talk. Why I Dream, She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. Every second Saturday of the month is the Medicine Hour with founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. I am his co-host, but he's been holding it down for us. Every third Saturday of the month is Education is the Best Medicine. Every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult radio show with my co-host, the Doc, the Prince of Hearts, and the Voice. Want to say kudos out to them. And then every fifth Saturday of the month is called Voices That Care. And we talk about reentry and mental wellness, and that's my co-host, Mr. Kells. So Mr. Kells was in here last week, and Mr. Brandon Rose is normally my co-host on today. However, I have my other co-host that's in here with us today.
Stephisha, Ycoy-Walton, find me on Believe Radio. Bulletproof. We bulletproof up in the state, mentally and physically, right?
Hey, yes. So I am hoping that you guys are feeling what we are displaying and what we're giving out, because we're asking you, we're wanting you to bring yourselves, your families out to this walk, this Pioneer Legacy Walk, and to the actual showing of the movie. So you're going to have a fabulous time.
Yes,
so bring everybody out, and it is going to be again
September 15th will be the screening Sunday. Please do come out from 2 to 6, and then you have the gallery actually opening tomorrow at 2 o'clock at Ycoy-Walton Gallery. That's on 14th between Broadway and Franklin. We'll see y'all there.
And on Sunday, the gallery will be open as well. So you can come to Jeffries. You can check out what's going on upstairs at Jeffries. And you can also go through the gallery as well at Ycoy-Walton. They're right next to each other. So you can do both. And that's the legacy walk that we're talking about.
Yes. Oh, this is so exciting. Boy, time flies when you have fun. We have 15 more minutes to go, but we all within that 15 minutes, I want us to just put in as much as you can about her story, and again us honoring her, and whatever else you want to share, whatever you think the community needs to know about this walk. That's what we want to bring to the forefront at the rest of our time. Before that, and I'll give you guys closing remarks and all that kind of stuff. But however, I want you to whatever you think they need to know about the actual film.
So I think because we're here on a 24-hour inspirational gospel music radio station, gospel music plays actually a huge role in Betty's life and in this story. So in 1945, they opened Reed's Records. Betty Mel opened Reed's Records, and they were able to make enough money selling gospel music in part, as well as jazz and blues and R&B, right? That they wanted to move up and out of South Berkeley because they lived in the same building where they started Reed's Records. And they decided it was time to move somewhere else. They wanted a nicer house because they were starting to come up through their record store. And at the time, Black people could not buy property above Shattuck Avenue.
Say that. Come on, baby.
Shattuck Avenue was the dividing color line of Berkeley, right? And so they couldn't move out of South Berkeley because nobody would sell them property. And what they decided to do, they decided they would drive out to see Mel's parents, who lived on a little tiny farm out in the Danville area. And they fell in love with a little property in an unincorporated part of Walnut Creek at the time. They couldn't buy, Black people couldn't buy property in Walnut Creek either. Walnut Creek was a Jim Crow town. It was completely segregated.
History.
Right.
We're not.
You could feel it when you go there, but we don't know the history. That it actually was a Jim Crow town.
So that's how we feel a little weird.
That's why
you know what?
There's
Now we feel it because it's actually kind of sort of in that history.
Yeah, that's part of that.
Okay,
That's
we
part
not
of the
crazy.
actual history that's not told of those areas. And so,
Hey, folks, do your research.
Mel, Betty's husband, Mel, he was a professional baseball player in the segregated Negro leagues. And he played baseball with Lionel Wilson, who people may know
The mayor of
Oakland. He became a mayor of Oakland, right? And so Mel was playing
the
baseball.
building is named after him.
Exactly. He was playing baseball with Lionel Wilson. Lionel was married to a white woman that was an attorney, and she purchased the property with Betty and Mel's money that they wanted to move to. She could buy it because she was a white woman, and then she turned it over to them.
Crazy.
And she didn't live out there, so they couldn't come for her, right? And so they became, Betty and Mel and their children became the first Black family to move into Walnut Creek in 1953.
Because somebody else had to use their money and buy them a
And
house.
when the neighbors found out who was arriving, they got threats saying that we're going to burn down your lumber pile before we build your house. And we'll do worse than that. Worse than that. And they were like, we have a right to be here. We're just as good as all of y'all, to say the least. We own this property and we're going to do this. Right? And so they moved out to Walnut Creek, crossed the color line, faced violence, not only threats of violence, especially their children. Their oldest son, Rick, was the first Black student in his elementary school and faced physical violence. And the first year that he started there, the school had a fundraiser in which all of the faculty and staff were doing a minstrel show appearing in black.
Oh my God,
you are sense that still happens, right?
And now, let me tie this one in. So, Jeffrey's
talk about the history upstairs. I already know what you about to say. Come on.
So, how did we look? This is a
y'all gotta come to you gotta come on Sunday the 15th.
About
you gotta come because Mr.
Minstrel shows up in there.
Mr. Pete is doing the history on Jeffrey's. This is legacy, man.
And Jeffrey is related. He's a cousin of Mel Reed, his husband.
See,
it's all connected. It's literally all connected.
See, it comes full circle.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Bryan, when the viewing audience watches a documentary and when they see it, I know how I want people to feel because I know how I felt when I first saw what was coming about. But as the directing producer, what do you want the lasting impact of Betty's life and her story of her music to be?
Yes.
What's the lasting impact?
For me, I would say that Betty, she's inspired me in many, many ways, but Betty has always pushed without having to hold her fist up and be pumping in the front of a march. She's always pushed against boundaries and restrictions. And she's reinvented herself every 10 years for a century. Right? And so to me, to see that Betty has had the courage in her life, instead of to do what's right, to stand up for the things that she believes in without necessarily even being an activist. She was an activist just in the choice that she made and the stand that she would make in her everyday to day. And she ended up going from somebody who was born as she was supposed to be, her value would be from being beautiful or marrying well, to somebody who became an independent woman and storyteller. She fought against restrictions that were placed on her as a woman, as a Black woman, as a Black family, moving out to Walnut Creek and crossing the color line. In her 80s, she's somebody who, when people said it's time for you to, start moving to a senior home, she said, no, actually, my job as a national park ranger and start traveling around the country telling stories. Betty has always fought against what people said she couldn't do. And for me, that really beautifully
That's why these nails are the way they are. I teach the youth and young adults to be extraordinary, not
Yes.
ordinary. Don't
Yes.
let nobody tell you what you cannot do.
Yes.
You prove to them that you can do it.
That's right.
And you don't let them tell your story. You tell your own story.
That's
And
right.
I tell them all the time, I said, what makes Miss Howard different from everybody?
Mm.
And they'll say the nails. I said, you're absolutely right.
Mm.
Not only that, my nails tell my story, but where our God's brought me from.
Mm.
The hard times, the challenging times,
Yes.
all of those things. No one knows my story until I say, and some people that know me know the actual whole story.
Yeah.
But then the key, don't judge a book by its cover until
Right.
you read some of the pages.
Mm.
So that's the key. And what we want to most definitely make sure we empower with our youth and our young adult is that people are going to talk about you. Things are going to happen. But like Miss Betty did, all the things that, can you imagine, can you see through her eyes, the lens of the things that she had to experience and go through?
Right.
This film will
And
let you
this
do
is
that.
what I'm saying.
It's so personal, and that we've been able to capture through the documentary such an intimate, honest, truthful telling of her experiences that is the closest thing you can get
Right.
to living those experiences and seeing through her eyes. And
Okay, right.
That's all right. They want to be with you.
Right.
They're trying to be on the radio.
and so I hope that people, when they see this film, come away with not only an honor and respect for Betty, but understanding that the histories that have shaped the communities that we live in are often not told.
That's what
And
I'm
yet
talking
they are
about.
still
Come
here.
on.
They're still here
Right.
around us.
That's what I'm talking about.
I hope
Before we
people come
got here,
away, I hope they
how are we
come
gonna
away
Yep.
inspired to learn more about the places that we're from and to really learn and tell our own histories
Yes.
truthfully,
Yes.
with warts and all, as Betty says. She's not gonna just show you the pretty side with
That's
makeup
what I'm
and
talking
beauty. All of it. She
The
talks
mess.
in the film. She talks about some of the darkest times she experienced when they were out in Walnut Creek. She basically ended up having a mental crisis and became suicidal. And what ended up saving her was the act of creation. She started. She started.
Oh
Create
my
something.
She
God.
started writing and
Yes.
composing
Come
and
on,
singing and
you.
performing music. It's
You.
all autobiographical about her experiences, and those songs are just as relevant today as they were when she wrote them 50 or 60
You
years
about to
ago.
make me cry up in
Because
here.
a lot of the issues that she was experiencing as a Black woman in the 50s and the 60s, we have not dealt with that real history as a country.
Right.
And so we're still stuck in it and we're still reliving it.
Yeah.
And this film, I think, is one small piece to start to connect the dots and see the stories that are being left out and see how the different generations of experiences that our ancestors that we have had are connected. And when we learn and connect to our histories, then we can change our future.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to take away from this film. And in the film and in the clips that we'll show on the 15th of September at Jeffrey's Inner Circle, you'll see Betty in her 90s listening to her music that she wrote 50 years ago and watching students at the Oakland School for the Arts or the Community Music Center in San Francisco learning the stories of where she wrote her music from and then playing those songs and putting their voice, putting her songs into their voice.
My God.
And capturing it so beautifully that it brings Betty to tears. And I was able to capture shots of Betty where you see the drops forming in her eyes and starting to pour down her cheeks.
You will cry.
And it's something that it just is such a powerful experience and such an important experience that I hope people will be able to come out and see it and help support the film so that we can complete it as quickly as possible so we can share it with Betty while she's still with us.
That's right.
And then I hope that when people do come out and they do the legacy walk and they see all the way back to Oscar Breaux, who was born in 1834 in Louisiana as a free Black man. And they walk down the gallery and they see the evolution of Betty over 100 years. And then they end at the photograph signed by Kamala Harris saying, "Thank you, Betty." That this makes people want to learn more about their own family histories, about their own community histories. Right? And it takes what people take away is that Betty is exceptional. But there's a lot of exceptional people and stories in our surroundings that just get left out of the history books.
And that's why. And I'm not even gonna say that part because we already know what we
got
planned. I'm excited. I said to you all before we were chosen to do this
divinely.
Man, all lined up. I've been praying for y'all.
Man, we've been praying
my
for
life.
each other.
I'm so grateful and thankful to that. But you can continue. That was what I was going to say. When you were saying the tears forming in her eyes I just seen our ancestors. I seen all the way back and looking at what they've been through and them saying what we're doing today is what we were dreaming of. You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
And them saying, just keep going. My mother told me before she died in spirit, she said, go, go. This is a part of that go. The ancestors are telling us, keep going, no matter how hard it gets, no matter what we have to face, no matter what we got to go through, no matter the purpose
what,
and everything, just keep going.
no matter what,
No matter what. And we've been chosen for this. And I'm
Yes.
so honored and grateful to be a part of you guys' story and your lives and a part of this history and this story, this legacy. I am so grateful to my ancestors, to your ancestors, to them saying, this is what we've been talking about. We want you guys not to do all this fighting. We have too much, there's too much to do.
Yeah.
There's too much to do. And we need you people with funds. We need you community that's seeing what Bulletproof is doing, that's seeing what Bryan is doing, that's seeing what BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. is doing, and support us because we are really doing the work that's needed to turn our generations around. These curses that's going on that we know that we were just talking about them being in prison, and then you saying that them being let out to do work, but they can't go to their families, but they can go out to work. So this here is the history and the legacy, and thank God for Believe Radio. Believe. You hear me? And that's what our ancestors were saying, is believe. And this is what Miss Green is saying, believe that you've been chosen for this and that this is your call and it's your turn. This will, like our ancestors did what they did in their time. This is our time to do what they were doing. This is our time, and we're asking for you people, funders, philanthropists, please connect with us. Connect with us because we're doing the work. We not, I ain't gonna say the word. We ain't doing that.
Nope.
We about taking care of business for real. The town, we're talking about my Brandon Rose. He always say town business. He said, Miss B, we out here hood scholars. I said, that's right, baby. We bringing it to the town. We bring it 10 toes. Say that.
10 toes down for the cause and the culture, man.
Come on. This is what is why, and I'm just gonna give you this. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul was created over 25 years ago.
Wow.
Me starting with underground radio.
Come on.
Going from underground radio to then coming over here to Oakland, California with Mr. and Mrs. Woods. And that's the international radio. And they had online and they had inside of the actual studio. So it was on air, FM and AM. And I'm looking now, I can just look at the plaques that they gave me for doing the show. So, and then now to come from them, they had brought up a young lady that her name was Yolanda Littles. She started Yale Radio. I went from Yale Radio now to Believe Radio. So this is me seeing the story and me looking back about how I've gotten to this point to where I am, and then how God gave me the eyes of the conscious soul. The eyes of the conscious soul. This is not just a regular show.
No, it's God's show.
It's God's show. It's coming from the soul.
And
that's the work that you guys are doing. It's from your soul. And this is what we want our kids to do. We want our kids to not kill each other. We want y'all to love on each other. There's enough money and there's enough. We got enough creativity in us for everybody to win. If we come together, we can win.
1000%.
And this is what we're talking about. This is hard work. As Dr. Phil with Nami Contra Casa, who I work with too, he said this is hard work. This is field work. We out here trying to do what's needed and what we're supposed to do. So with that, the what can we say to the family? Just thanking them again. We didn't say it throughout this radio, but is it anything that we want to share to them or say to them? Because can we imagine the work, the hardships that African American businesses are going through.
Well, what I would say
Reed's Records closed in 2020 after 85 years in business.
85
Because
years.
what happened is when it
long
was opened in 1945, South Berkeley was a thriving, beautiful black neighborhood full of
Yes.
black-owned businesses, and when it closed in 2020, all of that had left. So the black community had left South Berkeley, and most of the businesses in South Berkeley are not black-owned businesses anymore.
See?
Most of the residents are not black-owned
Right.
residents anymore, and that's a reality that is heartbreaking when that business had been open for 85 years.
that's hard.
And that
But
gives
but it's just a responsibility for us to build community. That's what kept
Bill
Reed's Records
community.
open for 85 years was community. And when the community left,
Turn that to you.
the record store eventually died.
Yes.
And so that's the work that we're trying to do with this radio show right here, with the work that you're doing.
Yes.
That's the work that we're doing at Jeffrey's Inner Circle.
Yes.
Next Sunday, the 15th, from 2 to 6. That opens at Joyce Gordon Gallery. Tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m.
Yes.
We're trying to build community, and community in communion with our ancestors
Come
that also connects
on.
us with our future, right?
Yes.
With the future
Yeah.
generations that are still to come. Because it's all tied together. If there's anybody that exemplifies that embodies that, it's Betty. She's 100. She's going to be 103. Her slave ancestor helped to raise her and didn't die until she was 20 years old. And she's still with us. Betty is still with us. And so if you talk about somebody that connects
She's a wealth of wisdom.
generations, but yet all of us have that in
Yes.
us, right?
Yes.
Betty is she's exceptional, but she was a normal person, just like everybody else that was anonymous, that nobody knew anything really about her. And yet at the same time, we all have this exceptional potential, I would say, within us. And when you find your purpose, then everything changes. Before I found my purpose as a storyteller and a filmmaker, I didn't know how to use I didn't know, I was lost.
Yes.
And then
That's what I'm talking about.
I found my purpose, and everything starts to align in your
Yes.
life, right? I'm here now with the two of you
Yes.
because we are all three people that have found our purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our purpose is aligned together, and together we're stronger. It's
Yeah.
the community that we can build something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
And so I think that the gallery being able to walk through 175 years of Betty's history in one room, in one space, it helps to connect and help all of us realize, right, that we're all conduits for our ancestors and for future generations that haven't even been born yet. And when you realize that, it helps you. It's like a magnifying glass. It helps you to find your purpose.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful. I'm gonna let you speak. That Joyce Gordon Gallery. This sister has been around for over 50 something years, giving Oakland what we're bringing.
Yep.
Yes.
And to be able to be honored to have it being shown there,
Yes.
Such an
that's an honor.
Yes, it is.
And Jeffries, they've been a pillar
Yep.
in our community.
Yep.
And we got to, like you said, commune with community. We have to continue to support having events and different things like that. This is what we're supposed to do.
Yes, it is. This is how we're supposed to connect. The way that you and I connected,
Yes.
because we showed up to the Freedom School for an event, met you there, and then we built community and
Yes.
relationship over a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then we ended up saying, hey, we're doing this stuff in community. Can we do it together?
Yes.
And then boom, 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 right? So
Yes.
it's like things don't happen overnight, but that's where we get the magic. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful to you, BH, for every step of the way. I'm
Mhm.
grateful to you, Bryan, for every step of the way. And I'm excited about this journey and for the community to come out and really, truly take a walk through the legacy walk.
Yes.
We really, truly need them to understand who the pioneer of this story is.
Yes.
So starting tomorrow,
Yes.
I need you to come out to Joyce Gordon Gallery every single day. Bring a different person
Yes.
with you, okay?
Because you're gonna learn something
Every
different.
day you're gonna learn something
Every
new.
day.
You couldn't possibly learn all of the history in that room in one day.
Yes.
So come back more than one time and come back with the expectation
Come on.
that on Sunday, September 15th, you are not only going to see art and purchase art,
Mm.
but you're going to come in and you're going to hear from amazing performers. You're going to see them. You're going to meet the family. You're going to see a pre-screening of the documentary that's being finished. You're going to participate in a live auction, which is going to be absolutely amazing. And then you're going to have some soul food catered by Jeffrey's Inner Circle.
Wow.
And
So-
pie from Lois the Pie.
Drop the mic on her.
Now, some of the
Thank
things
you,
that-
Lois.
Yes.
Give me 1 sec.
Oh.
We got to say thank you to
Thank you,
Lois
Lois.
for
Yeah.
all 10 of them pies
Yeah.
that y'all agreed to give to this project and promotion of it. We thank you so much. Please, BH,
And
go
that's what I
ahead.
was gonna say at
Woo!
a few minutes before. What we're gonna do is give out shout out to all.
Oh,
the
it's a lot of
sponsors on
sponsors.
here. We won't say all their names.
Oh, yeah.
And then, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought, but it's okay. So, well, I want to make sure that everybody can get your contact
Oh, yeah,
information and but each one of the businesses
Yeah, okay.
too.
Yeah.
So I
Gotcha.
want everybody. I want it all on here. So, but
Sponsors?
the sponsors.
Ooh, sponsors.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Hey,
What are they gonna? What we auctioning off?
Ooh,
Give us
can
these-
I tell them everything? Can I tell them everything?
We want them to win it now.
Okay, so look, I'm excited. I don't know about y'all, but look, we have some amazing memorabilia from the Oakland A's, and I know we sad that our A's are leaving, but this is an opportunity for you to remember them in great fashion. So I'm not gonna tell you who, but we got an autographed jersey, we got an autographed baseball, we got an autographed mini helmet, we got some real cool things from the A's. So I just need y'all to come out for that whole set, okay? And then we got some really awesome stuff from Oakland Roots. So when you think about it, you might not be a soccer player, but are you competitive? Do you have children? Do you have family? Soccer is so much fun, y'all. Go. We got a family 4-pack of 4 tickets, okay? And then check it out, the Oakland Ballers. Shout out to y'all for the season passes for next year, man. It don't get no bigger.
Passes. Every game.
Every game, and you know they in the
And they
playoffs
in the
right now.
playoffs.
Come on. And you know Kelsey Whitmore laid it down last game when she came up 3 up, 3 down. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone, right? But that's Oakland Ballers. And then we got the Warriors. We got that signed and certificated Steph Curry jersey. So yes, it is there, not for the taking. Look,
Right.
for the auctioning, okay? Because if I could, I would keep it. I'm a hooper at heart. And then we got Metropolitan Golf Links, who gave a 4-pack of tickets for y'all to go out there and golf. Look, let me tell you, you belong every single place that has a door to walk through,
come on.
okay? So I need you to go play golf and truly get to know the sport. It is beautiful, okay? And NCCPC, Northern California College Promise Coalition, we told y'all this is about education as well. So we're excited that you guys were a sponsor. You gave some amazing electronics. Can't wait to get those in the house from you guys. And I could go on and on, but y'all got to show up for the rest. Lois the pie queen. Look, Lois the pie queen with the pie.
Finger looking good.
Look, BA's
So
Brilliant Minds, Barbara Howard, thank you. Jeffrey Inner Circle, thank you. And the one person we really truly have not given so much credit to that deserves it on this call is LaFleur.
Yes.
Every single graphic that has come out, Sarah LaFleur, you are amazing, darling. And I am so grateful to be in business partnership with you. Like, you are phenomenal. If you can hear the sound of my voice right now, thank you for everything you have done up until this point. And Aliana, thank you for being a social media guru. You have done it, girl.
One of the co-producers on our film is Aliana Reed, who's Betty's granddaughter.
Yes.
In authenticity means everything, and how can you tell an authentic story without having the family actively involved at every step of the way? So Betty helped to shape the story because every decision I made would come out of conversations with her about what resonates with you, Betty. What do you want your story to be told?
That's right.
Who do you want to partner with around your music?
That's
And now we have Aliana, her granddaughter, who's watched every single bit of footage. It's helping us promote and get the word out about the film, and is also helping us craft the story. She's helping build connections with her uncle, her mother, Betty's children, to make sure that this story is a real, authentic representation of the Reed family over many generations.
Wow.
So huge shout outs to LaFleur, to Aliana, to Stephisha,
Yes.
to UBH,
For
to
sure,
everybody
for
that's
sure.
been involved making this film something that I think is gonna, and I hope is gonna have a real impact. And we need your help to do that. So come out, see some exclusive clips from the film on the 15th at Jeffries.
Yep.
See the beautiful photographs that walk you through the legacy of this incredible pioneer and leader in our community.
Yeah.
You can buy some of the photographs if you want to take one home and have it on your wall so you can look on and see the inspiration that Betty has given to us as a reminder of what you can be.
There we go.
The potential that we all have by speaking truth and finding our purpose. We can change our own lives. We can change the lives of everybody around us.
You preaching it down, radio. Y'all better believe it, man.
24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every first Saturday of the month the Artist Talk, which is the corner, the Cafe de Blue Lounge. And you can either hear the Artist Talk, Why I Dream, She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask every second Saturday of the month. We have the Medicine Hour with Mr. George Pearson. Then we have Education is the Best Medicine, the third Saturday of the month. And then we have the fourth Saturday, the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show. And then we have the fifth Saturday of the month is Community Voices. But today you have tapped into the Eyes of the Conscious Soul with the corner.
Bryan,
yes, that my co-host say that once again.
Who me? Stephisha, Ycoy-Walton, and this amazing man right here, Bryan Gibel.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
man.
this amazing queen over here.
Thank you, family, community. We're grateful. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you next week. And like I said, you have a whole week to go through the gallery and just check it out and be present.
Yes.
Be present because you want to make sure that you feel the actual story inside of your soul. So again, we want to thank my sponsors, and that's Pastor Larry Austin, Elevate Gospel Ministries, BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc., and then we have Barbara Howard Consulting. Education is the Best Medicine. We want to thank those organizations for sponsoring this show, and we're grateful and thankful. And you can catch Bryan at,
if you go to signmynametoFreedom.com, that's the best place to learn about the work that I'm doing on the film, to learn about the documentary itself, and you can find information on the events, future screenings that are coming up, and you can also make a donation, a tax-deductible donation, to help the production get to the finish line where Betty can still see it.
Absolutely. And as outreach and associate producer, you can find me in that same space. I look forward to hearing from all of you guys in regards to this amazing project. Have a beautiful day.
all right. And you can catch me on BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. Go to our website, bhbrilliantminds.org, and you can catch Miss B. But I want to thank you all again for coming in, because we have to go back to work.
Thank you.
We got more work to do.
Let's do it.
The
work is never done.
Never done. But we appreciate the family again. We want to say thank you, community, for tapping in. Please tell a friend to tap into our shows and to follow the work that we're doing, and to give us resources that we need to do the work that we're doing in our community.
Amen and amen.
Amen. And we want to tell you guys, be safe and good night.